Welcome back to Frugal American. Picture this. It's 1942 and the world is at war. The air is thick with uncertainty, and every household is tuned into the radio, hanging on every word of news from the front lines. The war effort is not just a distant battle, it's a daily reality for everyone. America's fighting men are overseas, needing food to stay strong. These brave soldiers rely on a steady supply of nourishment to maintain their strength and morale. Every meal they consume is a lifeline, a connection to home, and a reminder of what they are fighting for. But back home, food is getting scarce. Shipping lanes are under attack, and farmers are struggling to keep up. The war has disrupted global supply chains, making it difficult to import essential goods. Farmers are working tirelessly, but the demand far exceeds the supply. Something had to be done. That's where rationing came in. The government introduced rationing as a fair and equitable way to distribute limited resources. Ration books and coupon stamps became a part of everyday life, ensuring that everyone got their fair share. It was a way to make sure everyone had enough to eat, even if it meant tightening our belts. Families learned to make do with less, creating simple yet nutritious meals. The spirit of sacrifice and solidarity was palpable in every household. Rationing wasn't just about sharing food, though. It was about supporting the war effort. Women took on new roles in factories, producing the materials needed for the war. Rationing posters and slogans reminded everyone of their duty to conserve and contribute. Every bite saved, every scrap used was a victory on the home front. Victory gardens sprouted in backyards and vacant lots, providing fresh produce and reducing the strain on the public food supply. These gardens were symbols of hope and resilience. It was a way for ordinary Americans to contribute to the fight, even if they weren't on the front lines. Scrap drives became community events, where people collected metal, rubber, and other materials for recycling into war supplies. Every contribution, no matter how small, made a difference. This wasn't just about food, though. It was about resources. The war effort required a vast amount of materials, and rationing helped ensure that these resources were used efficiently and effectively. Sugar, for example, was needed for explosives. The sweetener that once filled our pantries was now a critical component in the production of munitions. Rationing sugar meant more explosives for the front lines. Metal was needed for tanks and planes. The metal from everyday items like tin cans and old car parts was melted down and transformed into powerful war machines. This recycling effort was crucial for maintaining the production of military equipment. Rubber was needed for tires and boots. The rubber that once went into making household goods was now essential for producing tires for military vehicles and boots for soldiers. Every piece of rubber saved was a step towards victory. Everything was connected and every little bit counted. The war effort was a massive, coordinated endeavor that required the participation of every citizen. From saving food scraps to collecting scrap metal, every action contributed to the larger goal. Rationing wasn't just a wartime necessity, it was a patriotic duty. It united the nation in a common cause, fostering a sense of shared purpose and determination. Through rationing, Americans demonstrated their commitment to the war effort and their willingness to make sacrifices for the greater good. In 1942, the U.S. government introduced rationing. It started with sugar and coffee, then expanded to meat, butter, canned goods, and more. Every family received ration books with coupons inside. To buy rationed items, you needed money and the right coupons. Each person got a certain number of points per week. Different foods had different point values. Meat and butter were high point items, meaning they were harder to get. Things like beans and potatoes were low points, so you could have more of them. It wasn't just about the points, though. There were shortages and delays. Sometimes, even if you had the coupons, the store might be out of what you needed. This meant families had to be flexible and creative with their meals. Faced with rationing, Americans got resourceful. They planted victory gardens in backyards, vacant lots, even rooftops. They grew their own fruits, vegetables, and herbs, supplementing their rations and boosting morale. In the kitchen, cooks became masters of substitution. They used less sugar in baking, relying on honey or molasses instead. They stretched meat by adding beans, lentils, or vegetables to dishes. They learned to use every scrap of food, turning leftovers into soups, stews, and casseroles. Cookbooks and magazines offered tips on ration cooking, with recipes designed to use less of the scarce ingredients. Women exchanged recipes with neighbors, sharing tips and tricks for making do with less. It was a time of shared sacrifice and ingenuity. Ration-friendly recipes, making do with less. During World War II, food rationing was common, and people had to get creative with limited ingredients. This led to ingenious recipes that made the most of what was available. Here are a couple of recipes that reflect the ingenuity of wartime kitchens. These recipes highlight the resourcefulness of the time and offer a glimpse into the daily lives of those who lived through the war. Potato pancakes. This recipe makes 4 servings. This simple yet delicious dish was a staple in many households. It required only a few basic ingredients, making it ideal for those who had to make do with less. 2 cups grated raw potatoes, 1 small onion grated, 1 egg beaten. These ingredients were often available even during rationing. Potatoes were versatile and filling, while onions added flavor and nutrition. 2 tablespoons flour or substitute with ground oats. Flour was essential, but it could be substituted with ground oats if necessary. This flexibility was key to making the most of what was on hand. Salt and pepper to taste. Seasoning was important to enhance the flavors of the dish. Even with limited spices, a little salt and pepper could go a long way. And oil or fat for frying. Oil or fat was used for frying, and while it was sometimes scarce, people found ways to make it last. Now, let's move on to the instructions. First, squeeze excess water from the grated potatoes and onion. This step is crucial to ensure the pancakes hold together and cook evenly. Then, mix potatoes, onion, egg, flour, salt, and pepper in a bowl. Combining these ingredients creates a batter ready to be fried. Heat a thin layer of oil or fat in a frying pan. Heating the oil properly is essential for achieving the perfect crispy texture. Drop spoonfuls of the potato mixture into the hot oil and flatten slightly. Flattening the pancakes helps them cook evenly and ensures a nice golden brown crust. Fry until golden brown on both sides. This usually takes a few minutes per side depending on the thickness of the pancakes. Serve hot with applesauce, sour cream, or your favorite topping. These toppings add a delightful contrast to the savory pancakes, making them even more enjoyable. Next we have war cake, which makes 1 loaf. This cake was a popular treat during the war, as it used ingredients that were often more accessible than traditional cake ingredients. 1 cup water, half a cup shortening, or substitute with vegetable oil, 1 cup raisins, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon cloves, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 1 cup brown sugar. These ingredients were chosen for their availability and ability to create a flavorful cake without the need for eggs or butter, and 1.5 cups flour. Flour was a staple in many wartime recipes, providing structure and substance to the cake. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. Preheating the oven ensures that the cake bakes evenly. Combine water, shortening, raisins, cinnamon, cloves, and baking soda in a saucepan. Bring to a boil. Boiling these ingredients together helps to meld the flavors and soften the raisins. Remove from heat and stir in brown sugar and flour. Adding the brown sugar and flour off the heat prevents the batter from becoming too thick or difficult to mix. Pour the batter into a greased and floured loaf pan. Greasing and flouring the pan ensures that the cake doesn't stick and can be easily removed once baked. Bake for 45 to 50 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. This baking time allows the cake to cook through and develop a rich, moist texture. Once done, let it cool before slicing and serving. Enjoy a slice of history with this delicious war cake. Community plates, sharing the burden. Rationing wasn't just about individual families, it was a community effort. People shared gardening tips and surplus produce with neighbors. Community canning centers popped up, allowing folks to preserve fresh fruits and vegetables for later use. Victory cafeterias and communal kitchens provided affordable meals, especially for those working long hours in war industries. These kitchens relied heavily on rationed ingredients, but they offered a sense of solidarity and a hot meal for those in need. Sharing wasn't just about food either. People organized scrap drives, collecting metal, rubber, and paper to be recycled for the war effort. Children collected milkweed pods, whose fluffy fibers were used to make life vests for soldiers. Everyone did their part. The Homefront's hunger rationing's impact. Rationing wasn't always easy. It was a time of great challenge and adjustment for many American families. It meant long lines at stores, empty shelves, and a constant worry about whether there would be enough to go around. The sight of empty shelves became a common experience, a stark reminder of the ongoing war. Families had to make do with less, often stretching their rations to last longer than they were meant to. Ration books and stamps became essential tools for survival, dictating what and how much one could buy. People missed the variety and abundance they were used to. The luxury of choice was replaced by the necessity of making do with what was available. Fresh produce, meat, and other staples were often scarce. They learned to be resourceful, creative, and less wasteful. Victory gardens sprouted in backyards and vacant lots, providing much-needed fresh produce and a sense of self-sufficiency. During World War II, people had to adapt to a variety of new foods and recipes due to rationing. Staples like bread, potatoes, and vegetables became the foundation of many meals. Meat was scarce, so people turned to alternatives like spam, powdered eggs, and canned fish. Creative recipes emerged, such as mock apple pie made from Ritz crackers and carrot fudge. Despite the challenges, communities came together to share resources and support each other through these tough times. Neighbors exchanged recipes and tips, creating a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. Cooking classes were organized to teach families how to make the most of their rations, turning necessity into a learning opportunity. These adaptations not only filled bellies but also fostered a sense of innovation and resilience. People discovered new flavors and techniques, some of which have endured long after the war. The era's culinary creativity is a testament to the human spirit's ability to thrive, even in the most challenging circumstances. As we look back on this period, we see more than just recipes. We see stories of perseverance, community, and the unyielding drive to make do with what was available. It reminds us that even in the face of scarcity, we can find ways to nourish ourselves and each other. In the end, the wartime kitchen became a symbol of ingenuity and solidarity, a place where the simple act of cooking brought people together and fortified their spirits for the challenges ahead. The lessons learned in those kitchens continue to inspire us today, showing that with creativity and cooperation, we can overcome any obstacle. Will you try these frugal wartime recipes? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more frugal living tips and emergency preparedness. Thanks for watching today.